Welcome to the official podcast of the National Pickleball League, where we go inside the NPL. Welcome to Everything and the Kitchen Dink. My name is Michael Hammer Mike Chen, and I'll be moderating this conversation with my co-hosts, Rick Ripskin Witsken, David, the Professor George, and of course, Jen Bone Crusher Gallwas. Welcome, everyone. Well, first of all, happy Father's Day, everyone. We're excited about Father's Day, but I'll tell you, I'm as excited about Father's Day as I am about next weekend when we go to Columbus at Paddle Taps for our second weekend at the NPL. Are you all excited for next weekend as well?
Yes, ready.
They look ready to go with our NPL shirts on and on Father's Day. And before we go to week two, I just want to do a little quick final recap of week one in Chicago. We had some data that just came our way, and we found out that there's three people that were undefeated with a perfect 8-0 record week one, and they are our NPL Players of the Week, which we're going to be announcing every week starting with week one. And they're Sherry Courier of the Houston Hammers, as well as Missy Grant of the Houston Hammers. So the Houston Hammers had two 8-0 women. Wow, that is very, very impressive. As well as Greg Bennett, who went 8-0 for Seattle.
Amazing.
So let me stop there. Any surprises there with those three players? I mean, I know Missy Grant. I mean, I play with her a lot, and she's gotten so much better than even last year when she was a good player. And for her to go 8-0 is very impressive. And her name might not be as well known as maybe Greg Bennett or Sherry Corder, but congratulations to those three.
Yeah, I think, Missy Grant, who played in our league last year and put it on the line to go to a combine to prove herself again. And boy, Michael, we were in Florida. I feel like we were watching her, and right before our eyes, we saw a woman who took her game seriously and took her game to another level. And I really admire those players that were in the league the prior year and choose to go to a combine to show themselves to everybody again. And so you got to admire that. And I'm really proud of Missy. And she's such a wonderful person that I couldn't be happier for her.
Yeah. That's
what
great.
I noticed, Mike, from this list of the top players, you gave me this file, so sorry if I'm kind of reading it like this.
Or just shout out the names if you
right.
If you
so
have
but they're from different places in the lineup. There's some pod 1 people, there's some pod 2 people, there's some pod 3 people, especially Janet Brister from our team in Kansas.
Yeah.
She
7-1.
Really anchored that pod 2 because we were missing what I thought at the beginning of the year would have been a pod 2 player. But now she's kind of cemented herself in that pod 2 place. So we'll see what happens when Natasha gets back. But she was just tremendous all weekend, and every match is worth a point. So it doesn't really matter where you get it from. You get some pod 1, pod 2, pod 3 people. Very impressive.
Yeah, no, that's right. Let's give a shout out to the people that were almost perfect at 7-1. Yeah, some big name players: Chris Anderson, Natalie Bagby. You mentioned Janet Brister, Cara Beth Lee, who went 7-1, and her only loss was, as you know, in center court in that incredible match that she and Stefan had with Kim Jade and Dane Gingrich. That was her only loss of the weekend. Joe Perizzo, Laura Thornton, Helen Wilhelm. They all went 7-1. And another shout out for two other people that went perfect, even though they didn't go 8-0. Troy Osborne went 6-0, and Beth Olivia went 6-0. That's a pretty impressive weekend for all those
Very good,
players.
very good.
You have to really applaud people like Sherry Corder and Cara Beth Lee and Chris Anderson that have never played in the NPL. There might be a couple others on that list that it's a different format, right? It's a fairly arduous play 2 high-profile competitive gender and mixed matches, and then you got to do it and like completely erase at lunchtime and move right back into that. This isn't like a first round easy match and then a bye. It's, guns blazing. Everybody's good every single second of every match. So I give a big kudos and shout out. Everybody knew Sherry Corder was one of our top women coming in, but for her to play in a new format and be focused and represent, in an undefeated way for a team. That's fantastic. So I'm certainly proud of all those players that had their first experience be, our last event weekend until, set the world on fire. Congrats to every one of them.
I hope Sherry Quarter and the Houston Hammers enjoy their first weekend, because it's not happening the second weekend. Session 1, Saturday morning versus the Kansas City Stingers. We even have our own song now. We got the grit. We handle battles. We have a whole rap song that we have.
No, don't start singing. Don't start singing.
You saw what I did last time I tried. So they're not going to be undefeated any longer, either Sherry or the team. So that's
look at that. I'm pumped up for that matchup week 1. Now this is the weekend I'm sitting out, so I'll be watching very closely all the matches and doing some scouting. But if in week 1, Columbus and Houston went 4-0, right? The 2 undefeated team. But Coachella Valley, Boca, and Seattle went 3-1. And so I would say, based on week 1 and based on the points they won the most points for week 1. Those are the 5 teams that look like after week 1 are the top teams in the league. And then the middle teams look like it's us, even though we're going to surprise them, like you said, David George. Kansas City Stingers, right? We got Denver and Princeton and Indianapolis kind of in the middle pack. And at least for week 1, the teams that struggled a little bit was Austin, OKC, and Naples. But who knows? It's just week 1. Do you guys see anyone breaking out of that pack to be better than they are? Or do you think any of the teams in the top bracket are overrated?
Will Austin get its first win?
Ooh.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
It's a long season. They were very close. It'll be a different result after.
That's your team, right, Jen? You're on
Austin. We're a very strong team.
All right.
We lost John Sperling the first match. We didn't have 2 other, females there. So, you know what? That's right. You'll see.
Well, the reality is this is a honeymoon on weekend 1.
Right.
The honeymoon's over. And let's face it, Houston and Coachella Valley are close to the West Coast, and Hollywood marriages don't last very long. So you can have your honeymoon, and then it goes south. But if you travel over to the heart of the Midwest, which is such great, wholesome, value-oriented people like the Indy drivers, we're in it for the long haul. And you watch out, because we didn't have one of our best players the first 2 matches, and we're coming guns blazing. If you think anybody's record matters from weekend 1, or even the individual stats, doesn't hold a lot of water with me. I should know, David, I'm on the championship team, the Indy drivers. Bam.
Wait, it took 8 minutes. 8 minutes for him to mention it.
A new record.
I was timing. Wait, you guys won last year, Indy?
Oh my goodness.
Comes as a shock.
Oh my goodness. Well, Rick, by the way, I was looking at who you're playing on center court. You guys, Indy drivers, will be on center court twice this weekend. Saturday morning and Sunday afternoon. Saturday morning against Princeton, and Jose DeRisi, one of the guys you battle all the time, you're going to be battling him in men's and probably mixed on Saturday morning. And then on Sunday afternoon, you're playing against a team you just trashed, Coachella Valley, on the West Coast. You're playing against Dane Gingrich in both men's and mixed. You're going to have some tough battles this weekend. Are you getting ready to back up your talk this weekend?
Well, first of all, I didn't trash Coachella Valley. They have the most incredible owner because she was an Indy driver. Okay. So I'm not trashing them at all.
World champion Indy driver.
And unlike some of my fellow hosts on this show, I like to talk about facts. Is it a fact that Hollywood marriages last less than good old Midwestern marriages, Michael? Is that a fact?
I don't know. I'm from the East Coast. I've been married 36 years. So us East Coast people are very happily married, is all I'm going to say.
That's awesome. But in all kidding aside, like playing Jose, I'm playing actually a doubles tournament with him coming up in a month or 2. We obviously met in the championship of the NPL. Had a great match with Crandall and Teresi versus Lopez and myself. I'm looking forward to that. I know Jose well, and I know he has quite the antics on the court, but And men's doubles, that doesn't affect me too much. Does it mixed? Well, then you may want to get your popcorn out, because then I'll be chirping back.
Chirping.
What if we
But
just
no.
stop the whole event and we watch that mixed doubles match?
Yeah.
Just stop the whole thing, pause it for a half hour, and we all crowd around and watch that one match.
Yeah, I think it'll be exciting. I can't wait to watch all these matches this weekend. Like weekend one, everyone's being nice to everyone, right? They just met. First weekend NPL, kumbaya, nobody's, lost anything. There's a lot of people that are fired up, even because they didn't do as well in weekend one and want to prove themselves in weekend two. And a lot of people are like, they got lucky weekend one. They want to prove that luck wasn't the case in week one. So I think there's going to be a lot more competitive intensity on weekend two. And David, by the way, I looked at you. You will be on center court, most likely against Stefan Andren in Seattle, and David Furman might be your matchup.
Oof.
Are you and Saad, who are probably, no secrets, are going to be the pod one for us? I meant, are you ready for them? And you'll be playing with either, probably Jen Dawson or Kim Kessner in a mixed match against them as well. Are you ready for that big matchup on center court yourself on Sunday morning?
Of course I am, Michael. Come on now. I'm looking forward to it. Have all my relatives tuned in. I have everyone watching me. People are coming to watch in Columbus because we love these kind of Midwestern homegrown values like Rick talks about with Indy, Kansas City, Columbus. So we really, really look forward to playing Columbus, and I'm really looking forward to that matchup.
You are. Well, first of all, you're not on center court Saturday morning, but like you said, you play Houston Hammers. They're undefeated. They're 4-0. Romy Maxey as the GM. He's a good GM. He studies the team. He's scouting you out. Who do you think you'll be playing with against on Saturday morning against the Houston Hammers? Because we need a win from you in order for us to beat this 4-0 Houston Hammers team on Saturday morning.
Well, we have our ultra secretive lineup, which we haven't made public yet, but we're working on that because I'm really tired of Romy and all his smack talk and his 4-0, and the fact that he backed it up just makes him talk even more. So I cannot wait to play them. And we have a lot of secrets, which I'm not going to divulge right now, and I'm going to bring them out the last moment on Saturday morning.
You might be playing against a Hall of Famer, Scott Moore, right? Scott Moore is on the Houston Hammers, and he's a legend. Sherry Corder, who went undefeated. You might be playing against her. You're going to have your hands full. And do you need me to help coach you? Because like I said, I'm not playing this weekend. Do you want me to help coach you and help you, give you some tips on how to beat those people?
Coach Mike, I'll take all the help we can get. Scott Moore just came through here a little bit ago. We trained together. But what he didn't know was I was secretly recording our training sessions just so I could get all of the inside value. So when he comes through and we walk around Notre Dame with him and his lovely wife, that I'm actually recording him. I'm checking for injuries. I'm seeing if he's favoring anything. So I'm just trying to get every advantage I have because Hall of Famer. We have a Hall of Famer. So, maybe we can go Hall of Famer versus Hall of Famer.
That'd be great, right?
Yeah,
Jen Dawson versus Scott Moore would be an exciting matchup in mixed, so we might get that. That's another exciting matchup. Speaking about people that, and she hits the ball hard, Jen Dawson. She crushes the ball. And so Jen Gallwas is not in her head because Jen Gallwas, we call it bone crusher, not because she hits the ball soft. She body bags people. And even though Austin went 0-4, you had a great first weekend record of 5-3. Right. And you did really well. And you've been playing impressively a lot better than even last year. And you're taking the next level. You're one of the top players on Austin. What are you guys going to do to, get out of the 0-4 record? Are you going to kind of lead the team into get them fired up to play more seriously this weekend against the teams you face?
We're excited. We didn't have our whole team. Like I mentioned, John Sperling was injured right. He's our one of our pod one guys with Dave Weinbach, and he was injured right in the beginnings. John Hostetler stepped up and came and played awesome with Dave Weinbach, beating Dan Gingrich. We beat Coachella. We almost went to tiebreaker against Coachella. We did go in a tiebreaker against Boca So we're right there. Just because it ended up being a loss, those matches were super tight, so they could have gone either way. But yeah, we've got a really strong team, and it's
And
going to be a
David
different
Weinbach
outcome.
Dave Weinbach is one of the top players, as you know, in the
Yeah,
game for many, many years.
he's
I'm
awesome.
sure he's gonna get you guys all fired up to play better next week, right? I think
Yeah, he's great advice. Chris Cargis, she's one of our captains, and she's just more than just even her advice. Her demeanor is always positive, always
Now,
supportive.
Jen,
She's awesome.
Jen, you keep talking about everybody else. I want to talk about you
Oh,
because you need more airtime on this show. You got three domineering guys. I don't know how you get a word in edgewise, but here's what I know. Well, two kind of domineering guys and one domineering guy. But anyway, when you started the NPL, you were coming off an injury, but like we all classified you like as Charlie's Angels. And then you go into the year and you're a little injured and like kind of a little uncertain. And then you kind of went into like Laverne and Shirley mode during the year. And then now this year, you're coming out guns blazing and you're basically Wonder Woman. Like, which superhero are you going to be this next weekend?
well, I guess the Bone Crusher, because I tried to shake this nickname that Michael gave me, and no, I don't hit people, but honestly, thank you. I was injured right before the first weekend, so I had like the triple knee braces on last year, and I was just trying, but I was still having so much fun. But yeah, my main focus is my outcome and competing. I mean, obviously it's so much fun, but I'm really determined, and I've been drilling more and playing more, and I feel like I'm playing a lot better this year than I was last year with my injuries.
As you
I'm
know,
ready.
Austin last year won the regular season champions and
Yes.
championship, and I know the general manager Scott Trevathon and shown it very well. They study and they're gamers, right? And they study not only their own team but their opponents, and so I know that they're probably studying their opponents for this weekend and getting ready for weekend two, and so I would look out. So I was going to predict a team that's going to do better in weekend two than weekend one. I actually agree with you, Jen. I think Austin is going to be the surprise of weekend two, given their record in weekend one. And I think the other team that's going to surprise in weekend two over weekend one is going to be our Kansas City Stingers.
Oh.
Is what I'm going to say, because
he's not going to ever say Indy.
No, because you know why? I'll tell you why, David. I think we went 2-2 the first weekend, but we missed some close matches. And we're bringing on Hugh LaRoe, who did not play in weekend one. And he's going to be a surprise player for our team in weekend two. So I think we're going to do very well weekend two, even though the Hammer is not going to be playing in weekend two. That's my prediction for the two teams that go surprise in weekend two. Look at Rick. Rick's not happy.
I think as a co-founder, I get a trump card. And the trump card is I'm setting week 3 lineups. And we're playing you guys again with Mills Miller. And I can't wait to do it.
Wow. Yeah, but weekend 3, by the way, one of our top women players has been out weekend 1 and probably be out weekend 2. Natasha, who Nurgis, she is back on weekend 3. We're even more scary in weekend 3 when we bring Natasha. And now we have Hugh in weekend 2. Like, how are you going to deal with all this talent from the Kansas City Stingers in weekend 3, Rick?
How can you call her one of the top? Are you kidding me? She's my Indiana friend, but she's never even played in the league. Sorry.
Why did you draft her? Why did you draft her then?
And I all the time. She came into Chicago again this week. We played, so we've been playing. So I like it. So
why did you draft her?
We're partnering for a tournament.
Exactly. And
she's great.
You know her from Indy, Rick. Why did Kansas City Stingers draft her before you drafted her? That's going to haunt you, Rick.
Michael, I'm pretty sure that you know that there was a little roulette played on draft day. How can I draft somebody to a team when I don't know even what team I'm going to be on? That's kind of a tough predicament, and I don't want to string along my fellow Hoosiers to that. That's why I couldn't get David either.
Michael, I have a few questions for the Bone Crusher.
Yeah, please.
So I spent the week training in Chicago. Natasha came in. A bunch of people came in from out of town. We played some pros Saturday morning. And it's slightly embarrassing when everyone hits you the ball in mixed doubles because they're scared about getting body bagged. She was just hitting people right and left. Like, they're not even attackable balls. I don't even know how she does it. But anyway, here's my question. So set the stage. The scene is Saturday afternoon. Okay. Jen Bone Crusher Gallwas is now playing the best she's ever played in her life. And now she gets to play against her former team, Naples, JBB United. Tell us how that is going to be.
Ooh.
Well, that'll be fun. And Naples has 5 former Naples teammates. So it's my old teammates who I love dearly, but you gotta go out there and win. So I can't wait.
Oh my goodness.
And
That
I'm going
was
to
such a
show
softball answer.
Bob Stroman. He's going to see me be a dink machine because he's like, oh,
Wow.
I'm excited. Yeah.
So Jen, but other than Austin, do you agree with me? Austin's going to surprise this week. I think we agree on
Austin,
that.
you guys, Austin's, we're so solid.
Yeah.
We're so strong.
So who else is going to surprise this coming weekend other than Austin in your mind?
Marcella's really good. I think that.
Well,
Sorry, Rick.
yeah, there's not a lot of people saying Indy's going to. I think we all think Indy playing above their level.
I don't know about Kansas City. I love you guys, but I don't know if you're going to have a winning record this weekend.
Michael, I'm going to defend Rick a little bit.
Denver, maybe?
How can you say they're playing below their level or above their level? You just gave us a document, like 10 pages of facts, and you saw the difference on their Saturday matches versus their Sunday matches.
Yeah.
When they have their full team,
they're better.
They were very impressive.
Yeah.
That's true.
Thank you, David.
They are. They were actually very impressive. You know, the team that surprised me weekend one that did better than I thought they would, and I'm maybe discounting them too much weekend one, Denver. The Denver Iconics. You know, Scott Fliegelman is outstanding. Danny Werfel had a great first weekend too, as well. You know, but
Molly's really good.
That doesn't surprise you, but let me about Danny Werfel. Like, he's a Heisman Trophy winner. Like, he wins, right? And you got Scott Fliegelman, who's the master coach in pickleball. You know, those are two people. And so I think even though we didn't predict him to go in the top group before the season start, I think they're going to impress a lot of people this year as well.
They're really good.
Well, I disagree with you, Michael, because I predicted them in the top 3. I predicted 9 teams in the top 3. But anyway.
That's right. Good point.
I like how you wager, you know. No wonder you always win.
but you know, on top of the fact that they have Scott and Molly, Scott is Molly's coach. So here I am playing in mixed doubles against them in weekend one. I'm like, wow, they really seem to know each other's game well. And what chemistry. I'm playing with a first-time partner and Jenny Marcos. I'm like, man, we're up 6-4 on them. And I'm just thinking, I'm not comfortable with a lead with these two because at any time they can make a calibration or a strategical change and it could turn on a dime. But you got to give the owners credit too. Mario and Jen and obviously Chris, those 3 are great quality owners that know the game really well. They're at the combines doing their homework. And I may have had my hand in selecting half that team. So I knew they were going to be a really good team.
What team did you not select? Your own? Just your own?
Just Indy. He did not select Indy. He selected every other team other than Indy.
I'm talking about I helped select their team during the draft. It's a little different than predictions of the season.
No, I know. You did a good job.
So Rick, who are you predicting will be a surprise in weekend 2? We're trying to talk about surprise teams in weekend 2.
Well, surprisingly, even if Sperling was injured, I actually think Austin has really good depth. And I don't even know exactly what their scores were in those 4 matches, but I can't imagine they got blown out by anybody. And I did predict Austin to be one of the top 3 or 4 teams, and I still think they will be. But, you know, so Michael, obviously Austin's the favorite pick. I like my team, and like David said, the way we finished on Sunday with our full complement of players, I think the parity is unbelievable. Like, honestly, there's no way, and I'll challenge them to the listeners right now, there's no way any team goes undefeated throughout the season. There's no way there's going to be one dominant team over the rest throughout the 5 event regular season weekends. Not possible. Too many great players, too much parity in this league.
David, other than our Kansas City Stingers, who else do you think is going to surprise in weekend 2?
Well, I don't want to jump on the Austin bandwagon, but I really like John Hostetler. Not just because I'm probably rooming with him in Columbus, but just the fact that he is like he's a solid pod one talent, and if he has to play there, that's fine. But if he's in pod two, that's just a tremendous pod two player. And I've been studying the Seattle team because that's Stefan and Dave, who we're probably going to have to play on center court, and they're kind of loaded, right? So Greg Bennett, you mentioned his name already.
Yeah.
He went 7-1 or 8-0. I forgot what you said. So because I usually don't listen to you that
8-0.
closely.
8-0.
Okay.
Greg Bennett went. He went undefeated.
No, I really like Seattle United's team. I think they're pretty solid, and they're very solid right in the middle, I would say. So they already went 3-1. I think they're going to be one of the top contenders early on. I don't know if that was one of the 9 teams Rick picked in the top 3 or not, but if it's not, we'll add a 10th team to make the top 3.
I have a question for all 3 of you. The question is, how important is the role of the owners and the GM to the team's success on an event weekend?
Well, I think first of all, I want to give a shout out to 2 owners whose record didn't do that well, but their team loves to play on their team. One is Naples and Bob Stroman.
Yeah.
They didn't have a good first week. They had Jaime Oncine, one of the top players in the game, and I saw them after they had a rough weekend. We're going to 4, and they all had an incredible weekend. I saw them in dinner Saturday night. I saw them on Sunday. I mean, Bob just brings that team together. Win or lose, they are a very cohesive team. And the other owner I want to give a shout out to is the OKC and Carol Rolls and her team and Mark Milner. They didn't have a good weekend 1 too. And they're missing, as you know, our co-founder Beth Bellamy. But despite that and not having a good record weekend 1, they all love playing on OKC. And I've heard so many good things about players down on OKC. So those are 2 owners that I would say that, are great owners because, the record isn't the only thing that makes people enjoy playing on the team. So they had a rough first weekend, but every person I've talked to on that team still loves to play for those 2 owners. So shout out to Bob Stroman and Carol Rolls for the great job they're doing leading their team.
Well, thank you, Michael. That didn't answer my question, but you're all right. Those are 2 great ownership groups. I'll repeat the question, David, because apparently he doesn't listen to me.
Okay.
If you're not listening to him, the question was, how much does ownership group and GM play into the effect of a win or a loss for a team's weekend?
Well, actually, I was taking some notes because I was listening to your question very carefully, and I want to answer it fully. I'm trying to debate how philosophical to get in answering your question. You really have to shake your head already? Like I haven't even said anything yet.
Oh, he's going to go on and on. Here we go.
But you said a few things, Rick, over a past few podcasts. Everything is hunky-dory when you're winning, right? So the real judge of character, the real judge of leadership is how well you do when things don't go hunky-dory, right? And so long-term, I think it's invaluable to just enjoy your life, your partner, your workplace, your team. It's not impossible to win if you hate everyone, but it is pickleball, right? And the whole point of pickleball is to make us happy, to have fun, to enjoy, and to contribute to eudaimonia, the Greek word for well-being. Like that's the whole point. And so for me, the fact that I got to play for Bob last year and Julie and Daryl this year, I mean, I might be one of the luckiest people on the planet.
Hear, hear. I have been listening to you, David, and I agree with you 100%. That was the best thing you ever said on this podcast.
Bromance
Always.
back on,
Always.
Michael. You're
Wait a
my
second.
favorite host now.
You use the word Euandenia and hunky-dory. I mean, hunky-dory more, but spell that word.
Michael's old enough to understand the hunky-dory expression. Jen, I don't know what that means.
No, look, I think it's right. I think David's right. Having great ownership does matter. It helps with the wins and losses, but it helps the momentum. So when you go through a rough patch, you're still there at the end of the season. Because at the end of the day, right, the championship is going to be, most of the money is going to be in the playoffs in October. So this is all peaking for the playoffs, getting to know your teammates, who you play well with, who you don't play as well with, and setting up the lineup so that come championship weekend, you have your best team ready to play.
I think I'm going to answer my own question a little bit, and David did a good job. we're going to keep this copacetic. But the reality is Phil Cohn and Paul Anamias were the owners of the championship team last year. And yeah, that's the second time I want to say that. But they really did a nice job of being owners and providing for the team, doing a great job at team dinners, having some nice speeches at the team dinners. It really made the players feel like it was unconditional love. And I really want to give a shout out to the Indy Drivers owners, Phil and Paul, because they stay in their lane where the players respect them and know that they're not trying to do too much to get that outcome of a win. We know they'd love to win, but even though we went 1-3 on the first weekend, I didn't feel any difference in the way they treated the players. And I felt like this is more of a marathon and a journey of growth and love for our awesome pickleball 15 over community versus are you winning another championship? So I want to give them a shout out, and I appreciate the Indy Drivers perspective.
Well, I just want to say, like, you talked about Naples and Bob, and he's amazing. He's very generous, and he just really quality people because he cares about winning, but he really cares about having good people and a good experience. This year, I have 4 owners, and they all have their roles. I mean, Scott's playing. We've got Scott and Steve and DK, and he wasn't there last time either. And Shona, they're extremely organized. So we know where we're going, what we're doing. We have good communication. And we also already have a cheer. Thank you to Tanya. And a song.
This looks like every player is really excited to play on the team they're playing on. So after weekend 1,
there's not a bad choice, you know.
I think it's going to get ramped up, the competition though weekend 2. So before we close this podcast, I'm excited. Rick, only one team you can pick, not 9 teams. Who's going to win weekend 2's prize money of $10,000 as the weekend 2 champion? We'll give Rick some time to think about it because he's got 9 teams he's thinking about. So, Jen, who is the team that's going to win weekend 2 prize money of $10,000 regular season?
I mean, Austin, and then my second team would be. No, I can't say my own team.
No, you said your team like 800 times on this podcast.
Oh, gosh. Okay,
you got to pick another team. You know, you don't have to brown nose the whole time.
I'm going to say Denver.
Denver. Denver is your team to win weekend 2.
Yeah, it is.
David.
Oh, I was going to say Denver.
Oh.
You know, but I definitely don't want to publicly agree with Jen. That would ruin the whole
That's so hunky-dory.
Oh my God, see what I have to deal with. So I really like Seattle's team, but the problem is they play against Kansas City. And so they're definitely not going to go 4-0.
Yeah.
So
you're right.
Maybe there's no 4-0 teams. Maybe they win a tiebreaker by going 3-1 because I really like Seattle's team.
So you're picking Seattle to win the regular season. Okay. Weekend 2. Great. Rick, weekend 2 winner. One team.
That's really tough to do to narrow that down, Michael. You know that. It's hurting my heart right now.
Yeah, from 9 to 1, it is kind of hard. I know that.
But I'll say this. There are 2 teams that don't play Indy and haven't played Indy, and they're lucky. And so that is Austin and Seattle. And I agree that it's going to be one of those 2 teams that are going to win weekend 2. And I think it's going to be Austin.
Wow. All right.
Thank you, Rick.
All right, so I'm going to go one that we actually hasn't mentioned this team name the whole podcast, shockingly enough, but the team that's going to win weekend 2 and go back-to-back, Columbus Hotshots. They are a tough team. Yeah. They are a team to beat. And so those guys are I saw them after they won Sunday. That team they got a tough team, and they got the tallest team for sure. And I love Shea Coker. He's a tennis player. So if you want to beat Shea Coker, super nice guy. Dink to him. Don't get into it.
To win in their backyard would be really cool. If they could win in Columbus, that'd be really cool.
They're fired up. I think they're ready to. They're the odds-on favorite. Home court advantage. They're going to have the crowd for them at paddle taps. They have bleacher seating for center court. There's going to be so many people rooting on for Columbus. And I love the guys on the team. They're just fun. Shea's great. You know, Jeff McKnight's great. We were hanging out with them Sunday night. I'm rooting, obviously, for our Kansas City Stingers, but I think right now the odds on favor is the Columbus Hotshots to go back to back and and win in their hometown of Columbus this coming weekend. What do you guys think? Yeah.
I was
Why
on the
not?
Columbus bandwagon early, but then we had them on the show and they're just so nice. It's just like almost no fun to root for them. So I'm off the Columbus bandwagon. So there's no way they're going back to back.
All right. Well, there you have it. There's the prediction. So we can't wait to see what happens. We'll be back right after the Columbus weekend to tell you our debrief of what happened and why it happened and who won. So without further ado, we'll see you next weekend or next week. But this is Michael, Hammer Mike Chen, along with my co-hosts, Rick, Witsken, David, the Professor George, and of course, Jen, Bone Crusher Gallwas, saying thank you for listening to Everything and the Kitchen Dink, where we go inside the NPL. Thank you for tuning in to the official podcast of the National Pickleball League. Please stay tuned as we will be back soon with our next episode as we go inside the NPL.